Hey guys, I'm here to teach you about the new build orders that have emerged since the change for the Overlord Speed upgrade. It got a little bit cheaper, and we've been seeing a lot of use from it in professional games. So we're going to watch Rainer show us how it's done in a macro game with Overlord Speed to make sure that you don't die to anything super silly in ZvT. Get that Overlord. As a reminder, if you're Zerg, if I'm not specifying to make anything else, you should probably be making drones. "16 Hatchery. You should have your first Overlord sent to the Terran side of the map, and your second one looking for some proxies. Get an extractor, and then take your spawning pool. Get a drone in that gas, and then another drone. Then another drone, so you're now full in that gas geyser. Get a 20 Overlord. Grab 2 queens and 4 lings. And take 2 drones off of that extractor. Send a drone to take your third base. And when possible, at 300 minerals, take your third hatchery. When your queens are done, you should be able to immediately get Overlord Speed. So that should be around 230-ish. And then get another queen. Try and use that second queen, the one of the natural, to place down a creep tumor first, if you remember. Keep droning. Start up your Ling Speed when you have 100 gas. Get another queen, and now your Overlord should have that speed, so go ahead and scout with them. Around this time, you won't quite see the armory be put down, but your Overlord should survive for a very long time, and you should get that scout eventually. Make sure to fill your extractor in the main base with drones once again, and around this time you want to make about 14 lings to guard against any Hellions. Now's around the time that you'd be seeing an armory, fusion core. You're seeing what's added onto the starport, see if they're going Banshees or Viking or Liberator, or if they're going for Stim or Mech. Grab another queen. Remember not to get supply blocked here. Depending on what you see, you might want to build a spore crawler at each base, or just one spore crawler at the main and the third. Again, depending on what you see here. Lings will not have speed until basically right now, if you're actually watching the video. So sometimes Hellion run-bys can be a little scary, but just stay on top of them. If you do lose Lings defending, go ahead and make just a few more. I'm going to have around 20. It's a pretty safe number. While also continuing to drone. And dealing with any harassment. Get 2 Evolution Chambers. If you do manage to take out the Hellions, as Raynor does here, go ahead and try and initiate a counterattack. Shouldn't actually do anything, but, you know, get the check. And continue scouting with your Overlords to see not just if they're going bio or mech, but also to see what they're prioritizing. Barracks, medevacs, tanks, so on, so forth. Grab 2 extractors and start your 1-1 melee upgrades if you see they go in bio. Start up a Lair and get your 4th hatchery. Grab 2 more extractors and a Baneling nest and get about 20 more Lings as you round out your saturation on 3 bases. Note that if you had seen a halberd attack, you might have already gotten the Baneling nest. Don't forget to actually fill those extractors when they're done. Get another extractor. You should be pretty well saturated on 3 bases, going on to 4 actually, and so you should be consisting that larva production pretty much of army. Place any queens you might have lost, and make sure to start that Baneling Speed as soon as possible, as soon as that lair is done. If you feel safe, if there's not an immediate attack on the way, get a Hydralisk Den. You should also have just a handful of Banelings in your back pocket in case there is something. And continue building that army and running around the map when possible. This is certainly not the fastest vertical hook, so a push might be difficult to deal with. Just try and buy time, as you see Raynor doing here. As the 1-1 finishes, start your 2-2. Go ahead and get Hydralisk Speed first. And hopefully around 8 minutes, you will actually have Baneling Speed to combat any pushes that might be coming your way. And just keep macroing, defending, and hopefully fit an infestation pit somewhere. Now into the build discussion. The strengths of this build. It fits into pretty much any macro build, really. You are going to be pushing off your speed, which is something that the Terran player can figure out once they see that early Overlord scout with the speed. So they might try and dive with Hellions, but it should be able to work out with kind of anything you do. And is an easy little change. Instead of getting speed for your Lings, just get speed for your Overlords a little bit sooner. Early scouting equals early prevention. The best thing that Zerg really can do in a game is not take any damage in the first 6 minutes. Which, if you have early scouting, there's kind of no excuse for you taking damage in a perfect world, I suppose. But just remember what you're looking for, you know? If you don't know what you're looking for, maybe you're I don't know, you're just new to StarCraft, whatever it is, then just keep in mind that you are looking for technology. And then also, if you don't know what technology is, just look for how many units they have. Are they moving across the map? Is something you can actually scout if you have that Overlord speed. Deploying Scouting Overlord in mid-game is easy peasy, so you really don't have any excuse to not see the halberd attack, to not see the battle cruisers, to not see that they're going mech, and to not see that they're going for a 2-base push. You know, all those things you want to be able to scout, and you certainly can. The weaknesses. Later Ling Speed can make dealing with rushed Hellion harassment difficult. As I mentioned, the Terran can figure out, like, hey, that's pretty early Overlord speed. They probably don't have Ling Speed until, like a minute later than usual. Something along those lines. So they might try diving with those Hellions. But even if you have slow Lings, and you should, the point is just mess up the Hellion fire. and you should be good to go. Otherwise, this is just a general macro build, and any weaknesses are, well, kind of on you. Tips and tricks. Overlord Speed will not stop Overlords from dying to Viking openers. Only spread out Overlords for scouting when you believe you can actually save them. So sending them back to your queens because they've pushed creep out a bit. Maybe you went for Mutalisk, maybe you went for Hydras really quickly, something along those lines. But if they get a Viking, it does actually kill the Overlord, as it barely does not escape the actual vision of the Viking to stop it from chasing it. Depending on scouting, earlier Baneling nests, more queens, spore crawlers, etc. might be necessary. As is, the way of Zerg. You can't just do your build order, you do have to react to what you see from your opponent. That's the whole point of this build, is that you should be able to see it. Always have about 12 to 16 Lings to deal with Hellion run-bys in the early to mid-game, even if you do not have that Ling Speed. Again, just a tiny little tap from a Ling will force, half the Hellions to actually shoot that Ling as opposed to shooting your precious drone line. So it is still very useful. Otherwise, just make sure that you are paying attention to the army movement. You should have some decent creep spread if you got that creep tumor first, especially, and should also be able to reposition your queens, which, maybe 3 or 4 of them, will be able to deter any of those run-bys as well. So that just about does it. I hope this helps your game, guys. All those Zergs out there who are dying to the battle cruisers, well, they're not nerfed yet, but at least you can actually get more queens, more spore crawlers, and not take as much damage, so on and so forth. This should be a really good build to learn if you're learning Zerg as well. So if you guys like it, let me know. I want to know how successful this is for you, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.